Hi, I'm Debra. Investing in early childhood development is vital to the success of our nation's youth. Studies confirm that the first 3 to 5 years are the most important in the development of a child's brain. These critical years are the foundation that shapes them as they grow physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially, preparing them for success in school and life in general. Opportunity Early Learning Center was established in the 1930s, and it is one of the oldest charities in Palm Beach. It began as an outreach program to assist families who were suffering from the hardships of the Depression and the aftermath of the 1928 hurricane. Mary F. Anderson and Winifred Anthony were philanthropic pioneers whose desire to make life better for the less fortunate ignited their vision to create Opportunity, Inc., a micro-enterprise that included manufacturing, retail shops, a daycare center, and a family service outreach program, all with the slogan, "Help others to help themselves." The Opportunity Early Learning Center continues the mission of these remarkable women to break the cycle of poverty, neglect, and illiteracy, today with a 5-star accredited, #1 ranked preschool education center. I'm here at the Opportunity Early Learning Center in West Palm Beach with their executive director, Allie Egger. Let's start off today with the history of the center and how it all began, because I think it's such an interesting story.
It is. In the early 30s, a group of women from Bethesda by the Sea Church in Palm Beach were in the Riviera Beach area where there were about 75 commercial fishing families. These are families that were known as the Conks. They were descendants of those that had left the Carolinas during the Revolution and gone to the Bahamas and then returned to the States. And due to the hurricane of 1928 and the Depression and things going on at that time, they were really suffering and destitute and hungry, and times were really hard for them. So this group of women, the Women's Guild, led by Winifred Anthony, observed that the wives of these fishermen were creating beautiful crafts, skills they had learned in the islands, using natural items, shells, fish scales, grasses, and creating beautiful centerpieces and accessories. And they helped these women begin an industry. And it grew and grew. They had 2 shops on Worth Avenue, and they supplied gift shops up and down the east coast of the States. And it really gave these women an opportunity to become self-sufficient and help support their families through.
And the women were so busy, I guess that's when the school actually started, so that they had a place to put their children while they were working. Is that when they decided to do the Early Learning Center?
It is. As things progressed and more women went to work, they started with some part-time nursery school programs. The women from the Women's Guild conducted the classes, and they started the first Boys and Girls Club. They had a home for children. But it was really around World War II when even more women were going to work, and times again were difficult for families, that there was such a need for longer care for the children that they opened their first formal preschool. And the mission was to provide a loving environment for these children while the families were working, but also the underlying mission was to really give these children a foundation in education so that they could sort of break the cycle and their generation would be the first to be self-sufficient and move forward.
Let's talk a little bit about how the mission has changed and why your center is so important to this community.
Well, you're right. Part of our mission has changed and part of it has really not. We really do want to support working families to become self-sufficient. So that part has not changed. What has changed is we've expanded a little on the family support aspect and really focusing on the quality of the education we give our children. as we now know through research, particularly for at-risk children, those that we serve, a quality early childhood education is one of the most impactful resources for changing their future. So there are more graduates, more getting productive jobs and contributing back to society.
Right. And at PBS, we agree with that completely. Early childhood development is key, really, to lifelong learning. And when a child starts behind, their whole educational career is just really a struggle for them. So you're giving them kind of their head start, so to speak. So I think that's great.
Yes.
But it's incredible to me how many children are in need of daycare. I mean, it just seems like every family has somewhere that they need to put their child on a daily basis. And you have how many children at the school right now?
We have 96, that's our capacity, and we have a waiting list of 250, so
Right.
there's definitely great need.
Well, I heard that there are 6,000 children in Palm Beach County waiting to get into an early childhood development program like yours. Are you planning on expanding so that you can try to help fulfill some of the needs that are in the community now?
Yes, we are. We are in the process of solidifying our expansion plans. We are very close to securing property, still to serve the Westgate neighborhood in West Palm Beach, and so we can serve more of those children on our waiting list.
Tell me about like a typical day at the school, because you're having children come here very early in the morning. What time does school start for them?
We open at 7 a.m. and we have parents here when we open the doors waiting and until 6 p.m. Okay. And we have families that come in the door right at 6 p.m. So a typical day starts with breakfast. And everybody comes and they have their welcome and their breakfast, and then we have some peak learning time in the morning. Of course, when everyone is, had a nice meal and they're most rested, and that learning would look like play to most people, because that's how children do learn, through exploration and play. But it's very much guided by the teachers, and the activities are all learning and beneficial and there for a purpose in meeting the standards that we follow. We have outdoor time every morning also, and then we serve lunch. The children have a nap. When they wake up, there's a snack, a healthy snack, and then we go back into wonderful learning activities.
Right. And you mentioned a healthy snack, so you actually have a nutrition program here at the school as well, right?
We do. All of our meals meet the USDA nutrition guidelines for the children, and then we take that philosophy and pass that on to the families through some of our parent workshops on nutrition and shopping healthy on a limited budget and things of that nature. And then we also bring that into the classroom curriculum on a healthy, eating and healthy lifestyle for the children.
Right, which is so important. I mean, in America, so many children have diabetes today because of unhealthy eating. So learning at a young age to make good choices, I think that's great.
Absolutely.
But what I love to see, and I think this is very important, and I want to know how you feel about this, I always found that when the children were getting dressed up or putting on little costumes and kind of having that playtime, that was one of the most expressive times that the children had. And you can really learn a lot about a child when you see them kind of interacting with the other children, but also playing dress up. And I know that's something that you guys do. And if you came in here, like you said, you may not realize how important that is to the development of a child. But, how do you feel about that? Do you feel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, our classrooms are designed based around learning centers. So we do have the dramatic play and the block center and art and manipulatives and many other choices for them. And it is a wonderful time for the children to explore. We make sure those centers are equipped with interesting items and items that are thought-provoking, and let the children use some critical thinking skills on how to use the materials, but in a fun way, because, of course, the retention is there if it's fun. And then our staff are very highly trained in how they interact with the children during this play. So, for example, if a child has built a tower out of blocks, it's not simply questions like, what did you build and how many blocks, but it's things like, what would happen if, or why did you think of that, to really get the children to think.
So what's the youngest child that you care for here?
The youngest is 6 weeks old.
6 weeks old.
Yes.
So they are truly taking their first steps with you, learning how to talk with you. I mean, that must be so difficult for a parent to leave, such a young infant behind for the whole day. Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you do to ensure that the parent, when they leave here, feels that, the child is safe, and if they miss the first steps, how do you handle that? I mean, that must be really difficult.
It is difficult. We start by really familiarizing them with what we do every day, and we give them obviously a great tour of the facility, but we invite them into the classroom, and we want them to stay as long as they want and come as often as they want, and we have an open door policy.
Right.
We also take phone calls all day long, checking on how the children are doing. We send home detailed reports. But the real assurance is for them meeting the staff and getting to know the staff and their philosophy and caring for the children. And it's not too long before they're comfortable.
Right.
We do get to see a lot of those firsts, and while that can be really disappointing for a parent to miss that, we are very mindful of that, and we take pictures, we take video clips, and we share those in a portfolio with the parents so
Right,
they can be
'cause
involved.
those precious moments, I mean, you really can't recreate them. I mean, the first step is the first step. So that must be challenging and also very bittersweet for you, because you get to experience that, and that's beautiful to see. But you know that the parents are missing that. And I don't think people realize, I don't know if our viewers even realize how many children have to be in daycare. I mean, it's every family has an infant. In America, we don't have, 3 months off. You have to get right back to work. And so the needs are just so great. Do you feel that our educational system is broken in America? Do you feel that we are not changing with the needs of our country?
I believe that's true in pockets. I believe that the majority of educators in the United States see that big picture and see where we need to move. Sometimes getting the system to go there is the problem. The knowledge is there. There do need to be changes made. What's really exciting, though, is the change in the outlook on early childhood education, and there is more of an awareness now, and particularly in Palm Beach County, we're very fortunate that there's a great awareness and a great value placed on early childhood education and quality programs. And I'm very hopeful that as that continues, that will kind of carry forward into the older grades.
Right, because we think of the children as the family's responsibility, but someday those children could be the whole community's responsibility. So if we don't take care of them when they're little, ultimately we'll be taking care of them when they're older. So I think it's so
Absolutely.
important that our viewers understand that even if you don't have a child who may need daycare, this is important to our entire community.
It is, and the dollars and the effort put in now bring far greater rewards and positive rewards in the future.
Now, since this is really their home away from home, is your school bilingual? Are most of the children from this area? Do they speak more than one language? Tell us a little bit about the demographics of your school.
Sure. We do have bilingual children. Majority are English speaking, and many speak Creole or Spanish, and we have teachers that are fluent in those languages, and Portuguese and French. But it's rather amazing. The children may come from a family that is non-English speaking, but between television and the media, the children are English speaking. Those that come to us that are non-English speaking pick the language up so quickly. It's really amazing, and it's key for their family, because by the time they're in second or third grade, they are the translator for the parents.
Absolutely. And talking about second or third grade, when I was thinking about the story and coming to meet you today, I thought, it's such a beautiful, safe environment for these children. Some of them are here for, up until they're 5, it's their whole life that they're with you. It's quite incredible how much time they spend, perhaps more time with you than they even spend at home with their families. And it is safe and it is structured. And then they go home and things may not be as structured. How do you help them to transition not only into their home life, which again may not have the structure that you have during the day, but also to transition into the public school system?
The transition to home, it can be very challenging. A lot of our families simply struggle to put food on the table. So, the pressures they feel, the odd hours they have to work because those are the only jobs available to them, it creates a lot of unique challenges. So it can be a very unstable environment for the children. So we work very hard through our parent programming with the parents to help them have an understanding of, even though it might be a different schedule, but just maintaining a regular schedule and the things in that schedule that are important and how important it is to take time for them to have one-on-one with their child and what they can do to create those situations and make them meaningful. And really, we're working with the parents to educate them to become advocates for their children and to empower them to step into more responsibility as the parents. So that is one of our challenges. We're constantly working on it, and we see a lot of success, but it does take a lot of effort. The other transition into kindergarten is not quite so difficult. That's always our goal, is preparing them for that transition. We make sure when they leave here, they love to learn. They're prepared to be lifelong learners. They're prepared to be successful.
So the success for your school goes beyond just that one child. It really is for the entire family unit. And I know we talked about some of the people that you've helped and some of the changes and impact that you've made on their lives.
Yes.
And really gave them, some of them, a fresh start in their life. And Patricia Jones was someone that I thought we should talk about because I think her story is a story that our audience would love to hear. So tell our audience about Patricia Jones.
Yes, well, she's one of our parents, so dear to our hearts. She came to us several years ago when her son was young, and she was struggling with some personal challenges, struggling for housing, food, just everything you could imagine, and just providing a safe environment for her son. And so he enrolled here, and so she had that safe environment for him during the day, which gave her the opportunity to get some assistance and sort of get her life back on track. She had a young daughter, brought her here. We matched her with several support agencies, a home buyers program. Today we are so pleased to say that she is again fully employed homeowner. She works for an agency that finds affordable housing for low-income families, so she has dedicated herself to giving back because she's so appreciative of the support she received. And her children are doing very well in elementary and middle school, and she really instills in them that spirit of wanting to give back. So it's a tremendous success story.
We have her on camera just telling you exactly what it meant to her. So I wanted you to hear this.
My life has changed, a combination of hard work from myself and participation of the school. Like I said, it allowed me a safe and comfortable place to drop my kids off every day so I could go do what I had to do to better our family.
Tell us about your greatest challenges, because we're talking about all these wonderful things that you're doing, but I know that there are daily struggles that you have.
Some of those challenges are, as you said, people may be surprised at what the need is in our community, and it's a need amongst working families. It's just simply because of circumstances, they're working poor, with low income. And that comes with a lot of needs. So for us, addressing those needs in the family is key to that full picture for the child. We work very hard all day in giving the child basic needs and educational needs and satisfying those, but to not have that same support at home can be a great challenge. So always finding those agencies that can specialize in the areas for the family that we don't, and matching them up is a challenge. At the same time, we are always seeking to improve our program. We're always in search of excellence and improvement. And while we have a very sound financial plan, we can always use more funds to expand on what we do. Not only the number of children we serve, but the options we have in programming for their families and always improving.
Right, because you're a nonprofit organization.
It is, and as with all nonprofits, you know, fundraising is a big part of what we do, and it's always a challenge, and you know, our children are worth every bit of that challenge.
Absolutely. All children are, right?
Yes.
How do you staff the school since you have a year-round program? And we were talking, you're only closed 12 days of the year. And again, I find that incredible because, you know, what a relief to a parent who's working to be able to say, okay, I know where they're going to be every day except 12 days of the year I just have to worry about. And of course, on their sick days. But how do you staff year-round? Is it with the same teachers, or do you have different schedules for the teachers? How does that work?
Yeah, we keep the same staff year round. They do work on different shifts, so you know we're fully staffed throughout the day, and only close those 12 days. So you know we work some vacations around, so the teachers of course have their time to refresh and spend with their family. But that is the key, those staff, and we're of course very particular in who we hire, and then we have requirements for education, so they have to meet academic goals. If they assistant teachers have to be degree seeking, the teachers have to be degreed, a certain amount of continuing education requirements. So we're always looking to improve, and we really hire staff that believe in that philosophy and want to improve, you know, for themselves and for the children.
Well, I know you're 5-star accredited, and explain what that means, because I think you've had a #1 rating for several years. Tell us what that means to you personally, but also what it means to the school.
Well, for us, a Children's Services Council, again, offers a quality initiative, and they give a 5-star rating. That's soon going to be changing into a new program with a similar situation. And I would have to say I'm most proud that we are able to produce achievable, documentable outcomes. And we're able to take all of those components and we can say, yes, we are successful, we've met our mission, we send these children off that graduate every year prepared for lifelong learning and prepared for future success.
Right. Well, we're proud of you too.
Thank you.
What do you have to say to the teacher? Because I know a lot of elementary school teachers, and I've asked them some questions, and some of them will say that they know from the start what child will succeed and what child won't. And to me, I find that very frustrating. What do you have to say to those teachers who have that opinion?
Well, what I say is, first of all, I don't allow that at our school. That's just not our philosophy. But what I have to say is that those children that may be presenting challenges should be viewed just as that, a challenge. And that child's success should be the challenge for that teacher, not just accepting that it's a challenge that they're not going to meet and that child will not have a successful future. But take that as a personal challenge and find what that child needs and those support services, and to never give up, because every child can be successful. It may look different for different children, and that's important, and we need every type of success.
Absolutely. I mean, both of us, we talked about this, have had children who may have struggled a little bit in school, and today they're doing so well. And I think it takes the dedication, of course, of the school and the teachers, but also the family has to be involved and on top of their specific needs. And not every child is the same.
Yes.
So how do you address that here, that every child is not the same? And you have an infant of a couple of weeks old, and then you have a 5-year-old. How do you address all those vastly different needs in personality, in backgrounds, in maybe some hardships that they're experiencing at home, and their age difference? How do you handle all of those differences?
Well, and that is a challenge every day, and that is why we require a lot of training for our staff. But what we do is we maintain a portfolio on each child that covers all of those aspects. Observations, whether it's on social emotional development, academic, work samples we include, anecdotal information from the families, all of that information. Our staff are trained to put this into a system where they align all of those observations to standards, and then they evaluate what level those observations meet. And at any given point in time, from this information, we can produce reports on a classroom or on individual children. Every week we produce those reports. We see where the class is. We design learning activities based on what's happening that very week for those children. And then we see the children that might not be in the center of that group, and we create individualized plans for those children. So every week there's a unique lesson plan for a classroom and for every child. So to make sure we are meeting those individual needs.
That's perfect. That really is perfect. Allie, with every experience that we have, it's always a growing and learning experience. What have you learned most by being the executive director at this center about our community and about children in the family unit?
Well, I've learned that every child is unique, every child has potential, and that we are capable of meeting those needs and helping those children to be successful. For me personally, every day I get to see some miraculous event happen in the life of a child, and so I've really learned to treasure each and every one of those moments, and to supply a program that will take those moments for the children and expand on them and make them meaningful.
Right, right. Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and we thank you for being a community partner with us, and we certainly cherish your partnership. And as you know, our mission is so similar to yours, where we believe that every child has the right to be ready to learn when they enter the public school system, and we're so happy that you're addressing the needs of our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Debra Tornabin. I hope you enjoyed this show, and we look forward to seeing you next time right here on your local PBS station.